again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Motivation is one of those weird things that doesn't often stick around long enough to finish a project. Sometimes it doesn't even show up to start. It doesn't help that I'm pretty often afraid of doing the wrong thing. And with my ADHD mostly hitting my self-motivation, yeah, it's just a combination for a disaster. But as a creative who wants to create, if motivation is my main problem, then how do I get going? And if I can get going, how do I stay going?
I've been asking myself this question, as well as many, many others, for a while now. In fact, most of 2023 was asking questions like this and just not having great answers for months on end.
But out of all these questions, there was one question that bore into my thick skull more than any other question.
How does anyone be confident in anything? And more importantly, how do I be confident? Period. Now, I know that's weird to bring up considering we were just talking about motivation, but I think I've begun to kind of understand something about myself. I've been focusing so much on motivation, but I don't think motivation was the elephant in the room, so to speak. I think the elephant was confidence. My motivation was more like the dirt that the elephant tracked in. I could do whatever to try and clean up that dirt, but the elephant's still there. But even if I have the best work routine that is handpicked from the greatest YouTube videos across the platform, I don't think that's really going to help if I don't have the confidence that I'm going to be able to pull this off in the first place. Okay, so let's say confidence is the problem that I'm thinking it is. Then technically the answer is pretty simple. Just be more confident. Or I could get ice cream. I'm kidding. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
You know, confidence is kind of malarkey anyway.
Cause the thing is, if you're confident, then you think you know everything, or you think you know you're right, even if you aren't. Which is if you think that you're right, you're not going to have an open mind. You're going to be closed-minded. Something doesn't sound right. One of my brothers once defined confidence as that fuzzy, uplifting feeling you get before fully understanding the situation. Which, as funny as that is not a very flattering definition. And yet, it seems most people find confidence to be a very attractive trait. I've even sentenced my lack of confidence to be the main problem with my work. So something's just not right. It's not adding up. So look, there's this one guy. His name is Rick Rubin. You may have heard of him. He's a prolific music producer. He's worked with a billion popular artists. But he's what I like to call a professional old dude. One of the things he emphasizes is the idea of being open-minded. And if he is the embodiment of an open-minded person, then is he not confident? No, in fact, I think he's one of the most confident people I've ever seen interviewed. But not in the definition that we've had thus far. In fact, I don't think he's very confident in his own knowledge really that much at all. It's something else. So I don't think confidence is knowing that you're right. I think that true confidence, from what I've seen here, is the willingness to be wrong. So what does that mean? For me, stop second guessing myself? It would have been really funny if I said, I don't know. There's this one question that an older gentleman asked me that is something I've continued to ask myself ever since. It's a simple question. It's a difficult question. And it's a question I think I've been asked about 100 times. But for the first time, I took it seriously. Who do you want to be? And if Steve from Blue's Clues is to be believed, you can do anything that you want to do. So who do you want to be? I've gotten a lot of mileage out of this, and my favorite part about this question is that you can change your answer. You could answer this question in a million different ways, and they would all be correct for right now. Maybe it won't be later, but that's why we're allowed to change it. But it doesn't have to be about your career. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. You could answer this question like, I want to be a kind person. That's great. Then be a kind person. So if you end up being wrong about your answer to this question, well, true confidence is the willingness to be wrong. If I'm wrong about this, it'll be okay. Who do I want to be? Thanks for asking. I'm Zane. I'm a music composer and video game developer. And for right now, I want to be a game designer.
So let's be a game designer. Welcome to Devlog 0. Hopefully it doesn't fall down in the middle of recording. That would be funny, but it's... I was wrong. Yeah, you can read that. I don't think you can read that. Game design's a pretty broad topic, I think. You know, you have all these different things that it kind of can be, and a lot of different things that can still be considered game design. Just imagine I wrote other things here. So I want to narrow my focus a little bit and focus on something called systems design. Now, what makes somebody a systems designer over just a game designer? What's the difference here? Why are we making this distinction? Well, why not ask Alexander Brazie? He is an industry professional who wrote this great article on systems design. You should really check out. Get out. I'm okay. This is going really great. Everything here is going exactly as planned. Am I okay? I'm okay. First, if we're going to talk about system design, we got to talk about what a system is in the first place. First, Alexander Brazie, as we mentioned before, he says that a system is any interlocking piece of the game that connects a mechanic with other mechanics or systems. Think of them as gears behind the scenes that make the game work. Alexander uses the example of a leveling system. So you've got all these systems, right? None of them are connected yet, but by their very design and the reason they exist in the first place, they are supposed to be connected. You get XP, you level up. When you level up, you get more HP and MP. Pretty simple. And every time you level up, now we're level 2, these goblins from before, these guys, they're not really a threat anymore. Now we have to make stronger and stronger enemies. This guy's got a hat, that makes him stronger. So obviously, as we get stronger, enemies are also needed to compensate because we're getting stronger, which that's the idea of system design, essentially. You're just balancing everything around each other and making sure that the game works as intended. But this is obviously a pretty simple example. We've been doing this since fucking the 80s or something, I don't know. Are they supposed to erase that? I'm not fixing it. System design treats game systems much like individual parts of a car. Complex game reactions are built of many small pieces working together, even if it seems as simple as turning a wheel or flipping a switch. But, bit by bit, the systems combine to form the game's framework. I'm falling. Now, when designing a new game system, I gotta fix this. Fixed. Oh, wait. Fixed. Now, when designing a new game system, we might add something like, let's say, stamina. I'll just abbreviate that. Now, let's say we want stamina to also go up. But now we have stamina in the entirety of the system, the same way we have HP and MP, and these interact with the combat system. Now, what is the point of having stamina in, say, an RPG? Like, what would you use it for? What's the point of having stamina? Well, maybe part of it is that we want to have this sort of resource that the player can spend in order to do some kind of special, more powerful move, but they have to pick the right times in order to use that resource. That's what MP is. We don't need stamina. So this is a particular situation that Alexander Brazie talks about. When designing a new game system, it is essential to understand the goals of the system, so you can avoid excessive bloat or in-game complexity. We added a whole new stamina system. We don't actually really need that. Once you have the goals, decide which neighboring systems it will interact with, and, most importantly, why. So why do we have this? We wanted essentially a currency that the players can spend mid-combat in order to do special moves, but we already have that in MP. So stamina has to serve a different purpose that already isn't being covered by this. Does that make sense? Why am I telling you all this? Right, the distinction is important since I'll be making a video game. Shocker, right? I'm just gonna read the script here. But having some goals and direction to keep in mind will help me figure out what kind of game I want to make. So I'll want to make something with a decent array of systems to work with. I think that's about everything. I didn't do multiple takes of things, so fuck it. We ball. So what else does it take to be a game designer? Well, I'm not entirely sure of everything, but I know 2 things for sure. First, there's the actual game design part of this, which involves problem solving and making systems work together. Love doing this, been doing it for a while, good on that front. The other one is writing things down. Sounds fucking stupid. Why would I?
Do I look like an accountant? Is that what you think of me? Do you think I'm an accountant?
Where was I? If I'm gonna work with a team of people, then I gotta make sure that my ideas are properly conveyed to the rest of the team so that they can actually do the magic and make things work. And writing things down is the best way to do that. It's the best way of communicating that information.
All right, cool. So what's the problem?
What is the problem? Did I not? That's the end of the section. I didn't write any more. That's it. Did I not? Oh. I'm bad at writing things down. I don't like the tone of that sentence. We're going to change that. But if we're going to change this, I kind of see two different roads we could take. Road number 1. I could sit around complaining about it, wallowing in my self-misery. Or road number 2. I could just start writing things down, even if it's bad. Wait, both of these suck. Okay, so clearly if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna need some kind of start. And a good start, I've actually found. Develop.games. It's a great website, check it out. It's got a ton of information on being a game developer, like what engine or what skills you need or anything like that. I don't know what else to say except that it has, oh hello, an example of a game design document. That's gonna be super handy to me, so I could just do a lot less work and start copying all their formatting. So I'm gonna do that. All right, so here's the basic idea I have right now. The game is called Reason to Wrath. It is a roguelike grid-based strategy game, inspired by games like Into the Breach and Hades. The current idea is that it's pretty story-driven, which might be a bit of a mistake, but it's what excites me right now, so we'll stick with that. So here's what I've got of the story so far. The Keeper has abandoned his garden. Now, dark creatures known as the Hidden fester in the damp and shady corners, corrupting this once sacred ground. All the old denizens have faded into hopelessness. All but one. The aimless knight, Wrath, still fights. Aided by an entity known as Reason, he hunts down the Hidden to save the garden and return hope to its denizens. I'm actually pretty happy with the story I've got going so far. It can go in a lot of interesting directions, I think. This also will help with generally kind of like the vibes of this game in regards to the art, the gameplay, and all of that. Not to mention the story itself is actually pretty good for facilitating any gameplay needs I'll need down the line. Speaking of gameplay, I don't really have any right now. It's a bit of a problem. I kind of realized this in the middle of writing the document that I don't actually know what this game is or how it's actually going to play. The core gameplay loop, all that stuff. Instead, I just started working on the game in and of itself. Because obviously, the best way to find out what the gameplay should be is make a game and experiment and try things. So as you can see, there's not a lot about the game right now, but that's all right because this video was more of an introduction. A very long-winded introduction, but an introduction nonetheless. One of the things I've found very important about projects so far is that a theme actually goes a very long way in regards to knowing the vibes and the feelings you want to evoke through all of the things like gameplay or the script and what I choose to focus on. In fact, the whole design document that I've been copying has an entire section devoted to theme interpretation. This is kind of when I realized I didn't actually have a theme for the project and maybe I should try to come up with one. So the theme I came up with was One Step at a Time. It felt fitting, and it seems to be only getting more and more fitting to this whole project as I continue to work on it. So with all of that in mind, there's only one question left to answer. The whole devlog written out, a game design document kind of written, and a bunch of daily reports. Have I managed to actually change the sentence? Well, I can confidently say that I am at writing things down. Well, it's kind of the theme of this whole project anyway. One step at a time.